This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 447 for Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out to talk about the geeky stuff that we're into. Boy, do we have some geeky stuff this week. Joining me once again, Stephen ESC is back. You can find him at Stephen ESC on all the social media that matters. That includes Twitter and Twitch, which is your main haunts, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Pretty much, yeah.
Welcome back, man.
Yeah, thanks.
We've got a lot to talk about because in the interim, the San Diego Comic-Con for 2022 happened. There's lots of Marvel news. There's lots of non-Marvel news. There's a bunch of things that I'd like to touch on. And as a result, we're really not going to get into, I think, everything in detail. I feel like this week is going to be more of a touch on a lot of things rather than deep dive on anything in particular.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to deep dive.
And plus, a lot of these are teaser trailers and stuff like that. And sometimes they're just like, word mark designs and release dates. Like
exactly.
There's nothing else.
New logo.
More than that, right? So yeah. But before we get into that, something I did want to mention that did happen just after you and I recorded last time, which was the James Webb Space Telescope took some deep field images of the deep space, and we're talking like light from 13 billion years ago. Like, it's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
But I really need to encourage everybody that's listening to go check these out if you haven't seen them already. They've been pretty much everywhere, including probably your evening news. Like, they really made the circulations. But one thing that I've been indulging in and feeling okay about in terms of the amount of time that I spend on the old TikTok app, which is watching videos from the Space Girl, Emily Calendarelli. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Emily. Not that she listens to this show. From Emily's Wonder Lab. There's lots of science and space videos explaining some of the phenomenon from the James Webb Telescope and other stuff. She's just a space educator, and she does a lot of really cool content. And There's not a lot of fluff. There's fun, but there's not a lot of fluff, which I like. She's very to the point. I think you'd have to be under a rock if you don't know who Hank Green is on on YouTube, or not YouTube, on TikTok. And again, he covered the Carina Nebula, which is my favorite image from the James Webb Telescope. That is phenomenal. The nebula. It was like, is it seven light years or something? Like, it's not terribly far in terms of the grand scheme of things. It's still really far, but it's close enough that we can get some detailed views of like where stars are being born in the Carina Nebula. And what his video was so interesting about was he was trying to figure out where the image of the nebula was from.
Yeah, I did catch that one.
And he showed me, or showed everyone, and it's just like, it's this tiny little speck of this 230 light year diameter nebula, and they took like a picture of like the top right corner sort of deal. It really kind of puts it all into perspective. And if you want something more detailed than a TikTok, I have another excellent recommendation. Dr. Becky on YouTube. Dr. Becky Smethurst is an astrophysicist at the University of Oxford. She's also very excited about space, very excited about galaxies. She specifically studies black holes. And she loves making videos about science with an unnatural level of enthusiasm. But what I like about this, what I like about this is that she explains why she's excited. And she does it in a very articulate kind of like, she'd be an excellent teacher, So she'll get into like some of the gobbledygook and explain like, here's the physics behind all of this, and show you some graphs and tables and light meters and things. But then she goes, okay, now I need to explain to you why I'm smiling at a graph, right? Because she's giddy about numbers. And she's like, you guys don't know, so I have to tell you. And so she's very charismatic and fun. And she also includes bloopers in her videos. So they're very lighthearted. But yeah, we'll have links to all of this stuff in the show notes. I felt it always happens whenever we've recorded an episode. It feels like the very next day there's a trailer for something, or there's a big science thing, or a rocket lands somewhere, and you're just like, God, it would have been really fun to talk about this nerdy shit on the show, and it happens too late. So I wanted to get this all off my chest now. So that's basically what I've been, keeping track of. I've been keeping track of stuff like that lately in the news, which has been more fun than the news from everywhere else. So that's how I've been keeping my brain busy. What have you been up to the last little while?
I've been soaking in the new Prime Video show Paper Girls. It's based off a series by Brian K. Vaughan. I read this comic years ago, just either from the library or at the local bookstore, and started reading it because I had read Why the Last Man comic book series, and I thought this is pretty cool. And I don't often enough find out who the author of this stuff is, and then I found out he did Paper Girls as well. I'm like, okay, cool. And then it's we're about halfway. No, not about. We actually just finished another episode tonight, so we're halfway through the 8 episodes in season 1, and it's great. I just recently bought the full volume of all of the comics, and it's about 1.5 inches thick for the entire thing. So it's not like one of these ones that went on forever and ever. It was probably about 4 or 5 years of publishing, but it's so both of my sons devoured it in a day, like the entire comic book series, and so. We're all enjoying comparing the comic to the TV and the TV show, and it's definitely kind of diverging off into different areas because, they'll want to prolong it over years if they can. But it's, the choices they're making, they're not disappointing. They cast it really well. That's one of my favorite things. I was surprised to see how well they cast this. And all of the main 4 characters are paper girls. They deliver the newspaper. This is not a spoiler, like you find that out within the first couple of minutes of it. And they're all 12 years old, and it seems like they're either being played by 12-year-olds or like maybe 13 or 14-year-olds, but it's a very age appropriate selection of actors. I think it's really well done. So yeah, we're loving it. Look forward to talking about it on the next time we record.
So obviously family friendly then.
Nope.
Oh, really?
No, my guys are just old enough now that all of the cursing and swearing. They're not that I promote cursing and swearing when watching shows with your kids, but my guys they're old enough now that they've seen other shows, Lord of the Rings and things like that. There's been more violence in those fantasy type shows that they've seen, and Vox Machina. So it's like So it's within their age bracket, so it's good.
You don't have to throw anybody under the bus, so feel free to plead the fifth. But I'm curious, has there been any moments where one of the boys have dropped a swear where it didn't necessarily come out as cool as they thought it was going to? Do you know what I mean?
No, actually, they're not the sweary type.
Right.
But there's been a couple of times when it's been appropriate. Well, my older son, he speed runs Minecraft.
Okay, so high octane, high, not stress, but like you want to get things right.
Exactly, and he's always going for a personal best, And there was one time, he would have like done an amazing jump, an improvement on his personal best, and the dragon took, I forget at this point, but it was like 6 minutes to perch. And then after a stream, he's like, well, thanks everybody. Yeah, that was frustrating, but have a good night. And then he just finishes his stream and he yells from upstairs, that effing dragon. So it's like, and my wife and I just laughed. I'm like, yep, if you're going to say it, that's totally appropriate, because he was so on with everything in the run. Everything he did was bang on. It was just this dragon who decided to not perch at the end that ruined his personal best. So,
right. Yeah.
So they're actually pretty good. So there hasn't been any moments like that where they thought, I'm just going to throw this in here for the coolness effect, and it backfire. So
it's always interesting. It must be a unique experience when you get to that point. Because I remember the first time that I was able to like swear in front of my mom and have her laugh instead of scold me. Right.
Right.
I graduated university. Yes, it took that long, but I mean, a lot of it's probably respect, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I might have said things like, shit or something, but like I never really swore. And it was part of a joke. And my mom was asking me, after talking with some other people at some reception, she's like, "So was there anybody at the job fair talking with you at the university?" I was just like, "No, mom. I have a BFA. Do you know what that stands for?" And she's like, she knew, but she looked at me funny. I said, "It's a bachelor of fuck all." she wasn't expecting me to say it, and then she realized like what it like. Not only was it funny, but also what it meant, and. From a job perspective, and I was like, no, I'm gonna have to make my own money, mom. This is gonna be different than the people that are graduating with a business degree. But yeah, that was a funny moment because I remember like I kind of said it knowing that that's how the joke goes, and it doesn't have the same punch if you say frig all, right? Like it doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't really compute. So
That's funny.
So I was happy that landed where it did. But it's cool that you're enjoying Paper Girls. It sounds like it's obviously doing well. The reason why I asked about the family friendly thing, because I don't think there is much family friendly stuff on Prime Video. I feel like it's all pretty
That's
heavy.
true.
I don't want to say adult entertainment because that sounds like porn, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's NC-17 or it's very violent and has an R rating just pure gore and sometimes appropriate. I'm not saying like it's over I'm thinking like if it's a horror movie, well, yeah, it's going to be gory and gross. Like that's kind of how they do, or like a lot of the films that they have, like the John Wick stuff. Those are really violent, films. There's some swearing in that, but I don't remember there being much nudity, And if it is, it's not like, it's more like they're in a strip club fighting, and you're not really looking around. You're looking at the two guys with swords and guns, not really the naked women everywhere.
Or it's a bunch of naked men in like a Russian bathhouse or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. Well, I guess it's sort of gratuitous, but it's more about like just like the seedy underbelly of the criminal world, and so it's meant to make you feel uncomfortable. I think is what it's used for.
Yeah, there's some I don't know if I want to call them cringy parts, but in Paper Girls, because they're sort of staying true to the way people spoke in the 80s than something like Stranger Things. And so they're saying things that are kind of like a little bit racially inappropriate, not like bad, but enough that makes you kind of go,
okay.
But then they get called out on it. So like it's not a persistent thing. They find out that the way that they're talking is wrong. I don't want to get into it too much because it'll give spoilers away. But it's like it's it's cringy to hear, but at the same time, I kind of like that it's sort of period. It's not like anything bad racially, but just the way that kids spoke inappropriately at that age, and then being called out on it so that they know that it's not an okay way to talk later on in the show. Like it's I think they're handling it well. Either way, I feel like this is something we can talk about in more detail next time, because I'm enjoying it. I'm excited about it, and so it's we'll give the spoilers disclaimer next time we chat about it, and we can do it.
Sure,
go into it in detail. It's good. I'm enjoying it though.
Stranger Things does that. They tend to give those lines to the bad guys or to the bad kids. The main cast and crew don't say anything really sketchy from that time period. But I feel like some of the subject matter that they tackle, they handle it very well in the way that it would be very closet, in that time period. So there's different ways to handle it, but I find that you'll see that if you go and watch something like a Lethal Weapon movie, like one of the old like buddy cop comedies from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Those jokes are racist. Like they're just, they're straight up, oh wow, no, you can't say that anymore. No. I'm surprised you could say it then.
Yeah, and it's not that level of bad. It's just, it kind of makes you cringe.
I find a lot of the stuff that stands out for 80s movies that you and I would be drawn to for nostalgia is like the chauvinist stuff. that's where I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is really different.
Dude.
Like, and it's stuff that I would not have even picked up on because I wouldn't have been old enough to like. It would have been just like, oh, that's a joke. Like, but it wouldn't have. I wouldn't have thought it as offensive or inappropriate, but I wouldn't have then also made that joke myself either, because it was, to me, it was like, those are adult jokes. You know, I don't make those because I wouldn't have necessarily found them funny. I understood that it was a joke, but I didn't understand the punchline, you know?
Yeah, like if we actually watched the old Rush Hour movies, and man, they just do not hold up. There's just so much not okay that Chris Tucker says in those movies. It's just brutal.
So the other thing that you and I have completed since we last spoke is Miss Marvel on Disney Plus. The last well, you had already seen the last episode 5, but I had not seen 5 and 6, and I have since completed the series, as have you. And just to, I guess, reiterate what I had said before, I felt like I liked the last 2 episodes on a whole. I know I had stuff to nitpick about. I thought the school battle scene was dumb. I didn't like the genie dude having powers. I can't remember his name now. Her friend, whose mom.
Okay, Kamran.
Kamran, thank you. And this is the problem that I have with the show, and why I wouldn't necessarily give it 4 or 5 stars, is because I remember liking it, but I can't tell you what happened.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about, other than oh yeah, there was a battle of the school that was pretty lame. Kamala's powers were cool. But ultimately what I walked away with was a feeling. And it's something that you said the last time we spoke, which is that the show has heart. And that's what I felt like. They ended on the same heart note that they started on. And so it wrapped up in a nice little bow in that way for me. I particularly enjoyed the conversation between her dad, Kamala, her dad, and her, where he kind of suggested her name, and he referred to her as their little Miss Marvel as a baby, because they were trying, I guess, for a second child, and they couldn't get pregnant, and then eventually they had Kamala, and so that's where she ended up getting the Miss Marvel moniker, which I thought was really cool. And there's a lot of little pieces that came together. Her suit came together, stuff like that. But I don't recall the beat for beat. And the only big negative that stood out for me was the awful cardboard Deaver lady from the cleanup crew, whatever the government agency is that they made up on the spot. None of it felt good. It all felt cartoonishly bad. I've seen more threatening animated characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In Batman the Animated Series, when a crooked federal agent is going sideways, it's way more threatening than she was. It's just, everything about her is just 1980s bargain bin VHS villain. It's totally. Just, it's not.
I wasn't sure what you're gonna say, but that pretty much nails it.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not a good look.
And it was just, and she's a predictable villain as well, because she called it in and basically said, can I have the go ahead? No, you don't have the go ahead. Stand down. We're handling this. You definitely don't have the go ahead. Do not do anything. And she basically says something like understood, hangs up. And then everyone who's watching goes, what's going to happen? Yep. She goes against what her superior says and goes ahead without the order anyway. So it's just, I agree. It's unfortunate.
And if she's in the series or in the films at all anymore, then that organization has absolutely no weight in my mind, because she would be reprimanded, potentially jailed, certainly fired. She would not exist in that organization if that was the case, right? If it was supposed to be this tight-knit government operation, then it reminds me of an old joke that Robin Williams used to do, which is about the police in the UK where they don't have guns. It's stop, or I'll yell stop again. It's just it's kind of he says, whatever you do, don't do it. even though I'm 1,000 miles away and I can do absolutely nothing to stop you, listen to me over the phone and don't do the thing. And she goes, okay, I'm just going to go do the thing. It's like, it's just bad behavior. And it doesn't,
it kind of feels like lazy writing too.
It absolutely is. Absolutely is.
It gets to a point where it's just cliche. And I mean, her character, she was, racist overtones, not to her words, but just kind of things that she implied early on in the show and through it. So like she's instantly a character that you hate. Not because she's conniving and clever and makes you like the fact that you hate her or anything like that. She's just like, she's a jerk right from the get-go, and there's nothing endearing about her character that makes you want her to stay in the show. Like not even like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see how she gets pitted against so-and-so in the next season. Like, nope, you just don't want her there.
Yeah, no, there's you feel like you're wasting your energy watching her, right? Because you can predict what's going to happen next, and that I think it's a bad villain. The villain that you want is the one that the audience cannot predict, because then when the hero is surprised and you are surprised, you're just like, oh wow, did not see that coming. Or it's like the person that is the evil kind of either mastermind or real sadistic crazy, but they play it really straight for the full plot, and it's not until the third act where they really snap and show their true colors, and you go, oh wow, this is triple scary now because she fooled me, up to this point, and now I'm like, oh god, I can't trust anybody anymore, and that makes the whole series more interesting when stuff like that happens.
And it wasn't that Najma was that level of tricking us, but she came across as somebody that you felt like you could trust early on in the show, and then spoiler alert for those of you who may have not seen season 5 or 6, or episode 5 and 6, but Najma sort of dies in episode 5 after opening the portal like she said she was going to, but then having a change of heart when she realizes it was going to crush the world, and she sort of sacrifices herself. I don't understand how that sacrificing yourself to close a portal thing works. And not in just this story, but like all of them, just for the record. It's just like,
I didn't get that at all. I didn't understand that's what she was doing. That's one of the things I didn't like about that episode, was that I thought that she tried to close the portal, or tried to open the portal. It killed her. And then she said, whoa, I can feel it trying to kill me. And then she sent her essence or her power or whatever to her son. I did not at all get the idea that she had a change of heart. And that is a case where the character was really good in terms of the good versus bad, like the flip-flop. But they did the flip-flop in one episode.
Yeah.
Or an episode and a half. They could have taken that flip-flop the entire season, right? Like how cool would it have been if the big baddie at the end of episode 6 wasn't Deaver McDickhead. It was the Najma, it was that confrontation. Like that would have been a lot more interesting, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like they could have taken 3 more episodes and just taken their time with a lot more in this and made it a really good show. Like you, I'm left watching the show feeling like I enjoyed it, but it just felt like it was so much packed into just such a small amount of time.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And then if I have to say, because I was a big Ms. Marvel fan from the comics before watching this, I was left with a disappointed taste in my mouth at the very end of it all. Because this is a big spoiler if you haven't seen it, so plug your ears for about 20 seconds. But the fact that she's a mutant and not an Inhuman really bothers me.
When did they say that?
Oh, at the very end, because Bruno had done... They didn't come out and literally say it, but they basically, Bruno said, I had checked your DNA again because there's something there, and there's a mutation in your DNA. So because her brother was wondering if he might be a Jinn as well, but then he said, no, we found a mutation in your DNA, which then I kind of, fell down the rabbit hole a little bit afterwards, and everyone is like, yep, cool, MCU confirms it. Mutants are coming into the timeline at some point. Which was just disheartening to me because I liked the Inhuman storyline. And I believe it was Alistair I was talking to who said that Kevin Feige has said that he's not a fan of the Inhuman storyline very much anyway. So yeah, either way, that was my takeaway from it. So I was disappointed. If it turns out that they are talking about Inhumans, then I will totally eat my words and I will happily welcome them back into the MCU because I like that storyline.
I remember now them saying mutation, but I didn't take it to be like mutation. I just thought it was like any kind of abnormality in the DNA would be described as a mutation. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't think,
Yeah, okay.
I took it as more of a technical term, not a label, if that makes any sense. I mean,
No, that's good.
I could be wrong, and I like the X-Men, so I don't mind if they want to bring the X-Men into the MCU. What is that? Phase 7 in 2035? Like, is that when that's
Probably
going to roll out?
Yeah.
So
that's for our kids. I'd be happy to be proved wrong. Honestly, I'd be more than happy to have it be the Inhuman storyline. So please, Marvel, prove me wrong.
Well, speaking of Marvel and the future, one of the things that we wanted to talk about this week was all of the things coming out of San Diego Comic-Con. Probably focused heavily on the Marvel stuff just because there was a lot of it, and you and I are both fans. But there are other things I want to touch on as well. But the big stuff that was of interest to me, and I'll just list them and we can just talk about them, as we see fit. She-Hulk. We got another trailer for She-Hulk, which is the Disney Plus series, which I'm looking forward to. It looks fun.
Me too.
The Wakanda Forever trailer had some heavy notes in it, obviously with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. They kept that pretty heavy on the teaser. They didn't really reveal much of what the plot was. They just kind of gave a lot of visuals, a lot of mood shots from the Wakanda Forever trailer. That's coming in November. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there was a teaser for that. And that actually I think was older than Comic-Con. It came out either just before or just during. And then there were, I'm trying to think if there's other Marvel. I don't remember any Marvel teasers, but what they did announce were the other films in the different phases. So in phase 5, we've got Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I mentioned, The Marvels, Blade, Captain America New World Order, and Thunderbolts. And then there's lots on television, but the two that stuck out to me were Secret Invasion and Daredevil Born Again, now that Daredevil is back on Disney Plus. And then in phase 6, yes, they're talking about phase 6, which is like the end of 2024 into 2025. They didn't really talk much about the in-betweens, but they did reveal what it's going to start with, which is the Fantastic Four in 2024. And then the two films planned to kind of wrap up phase 6, unless I misunderstood this, is Avengers The Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. And so I remember hearing a lot about Secret Wars from big Marvel comic fans when that was a thing. And I know nothing about it. So it's going to be some fresh eyes going into the movie theaters, checking this stuff out. I mean, I like all the characters. I like that they are building things up again. Like I think that it's good that they move forward with maybe some new characters, which they seem to be doing, and introduce those via Disney Plus vehicles, via movie vehicles, and then build up to another kind of Avengers thing. It sounds formulaic, but Disney has been doing formulaic for years, decades, and it seems to work. So I'm on board. Like it all sounded good to me. Was there anything in particular from the Marvel news that stood out to you?
Well, I guess I am looking forward to She-Hulk. I'm a fan of Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black fame. And if you haven't seen Orphan Black yet, do yourself a favor and go watch her play 6 different personalities in it, and perfectly, seamlessly, and overlapping each other in the same scene. She's a super talented actor, so I'm very excited to see what she does with this. But although I have reservations about it as well. I think you and I chatted about it already. The CGI is kind of, the early trailer kind of made us go a little, I don't know.
It's got something to do with her eyeline or the way that she kind of settles when she moves. There's something that feels very video game character about it. The thing that I think most CGI misses about human behavior, we're very capable of standing still.
Yeah.
Like when you and I are talking, when you and I are talking in person and one of us is talking, the other was listening, unless there's a physical thing happening like training or cooking or, you're at a pool hall or something, most people when they're listening will stand nearly motionless. at least from the neck up, and unless they're, being told something shocking. But I feel like they tend to kind of keep the characters moving even when they're not talking. And it's very strange, because then you're no longer looking at the person that you're supposed to be looking at. You're looking at the character that's still moving, even though they're done delivering the information. But yeah, I'm not sure. And I've always been on the fence about Smart Hulk, about Banner Hulk. I feel like the CG for Hulk works when he's the size of a small freight train. But when he's like he's like he's bigger than a bodybuilder, but he's not like crazy big when he's Banner Hulk. And I feel like there's a little bit lost because he feels kind of short and monkey like, as opposed to feeling like larger than life when he did in the original Avengers film. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like my favorite CG Hulk was actually Thor: Love and Thunder. I think that I completely forgot that it was, that it wasn't real.
Oh, Ragnarok, yeah.
Did I say Love and Thunder? Ragnarok, sorry. Love and Thunder on the brain, just because it's everywhere on the internet. So yeah, Ragnarok is what I meant.
No, it was good. That was a really good give and take between Thor and the Hulk as well. I like that. But I do like the fact that they show her breaking the fourth wall. I found that a little bit intriguing. Curious to see how that plays out, especially with... I feel like there's going to be her breaking the fourth wall. Well, they already showed it. She breaks the fourth wall with Hulk in the background. So, like, I'm wondering, how... If people are going to be aware that she's breaking the fourth wall, it's like if that's like who are you talking to kind of thing, or if it's going to be her just doing it and nobody realizes she's doing it. So I like it, but I'll have to see how it fits into the show. So it's a little bit.
I feel it only works as long as people don't notice, because that's the only reason that it works for Deadpool. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm hoping, is that it's just her.
And I think you could have some fun with that, where in the future, if She-Hulk and Deadpool ever cross paths and she turns and does like a fourth wall thing, and he could be just like, do you talk to them too? Like, just, it would be, like just you get one little shot at it, like, I feel like there'd be some really good moments for stuff like that, because it's like, to me, like, they get away with it in Deadpool because Wade Wilson is crackers. Like, he's part nuts. And I feel like they could maybe it's a symptom of her change, like she ends up thinking she's talking to somebody. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say at this point. So I'm curious about the change and the rules of her change, because I don't know. Same thing. 1 minute she's not She-Hulk, the next minute she is. She can either control it or she can't, or she's She-Hulk all the time. In the comics, I thought she was She-Hulk all the time and did not change back.
I thought so too. But I'm curious to know how she gets her powers, because I know there seems to be a training, quote unquote training session, with Bruce Banner, with her in a room with a thing on her head. I think he was trying to trigger it somehow. So I don't know if, I'm curious to see how that happens. It's one of those things that I'm looking forward to, but I don't really know. I think part of the reason I'm excited about it is because I don't know much about it, but I like the actors who are involved in it, so I just want to see what they do with it. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. How do you feel about Wakanda Forever?
I'm really looking forward to this. I mean, I feel like there's going to be tears in the theater. I don't know how you can't just, with losing Chadwick Boseman like that. And then obviously they're alluding to the fact, with Angela Bassett's giving that impassioned speech, like she's clearly lost her son, she's clearly lost her husband, she's lost everyone. And so it's just there's gonna be, a lot of emotion in this movie, but they don't, like, as you said, they don't really give a lot away in it. So it's like, it looks like it's going to be very. I really like what they set it up visually. I think it looks stunning, but I don't like storyline wise. I just don't really know what it's going to be. I feel like Shuri's probably going to become the Black Panther, because I think that's what's happening, or what happened at one point in the comics. And it sort of makes sense if they wanted to sort of, keep it in the family the same way, T'Chaka, then T'Challa, then Shuri kind of thing. But I kind of hope I don't know, just that I'm wrong. I think it would be cool to have Danai Gurira's Okaya character get it because she's got mad fighting skills already and just has such screen presence in my mind. I think she would be a completely badass Black Panther, and I think that'd be a cool choice. So I'm curious to see how that will go.
I kind of want Nakia to get it as a character. I think it's less about. I'm thinking about it from like less of a physical prowess thing and more of a who's got the heart to be Black Panther, you know. And I agree with you. I want them to go outside of just the obvious lineage. I kind of want it to go similar to Captain America. You want the mantle to go to whoever is the most deserving, not who happens to be related. You know,
exactly.
And I mean, I don't want to say that this is predictable, but I feel like it's going to be a woman Black Panther would be my guess.
Oh yeah, and I hope so. I think they'd be able to. I think there's nothing wrong with that, and I think it'd be super cool.
No, I agree.
No, it's the guessing game. I'm happy that I don't know because I want to see how this movie plays out and see where that mantle lands. I guess one of the things I hope they don't do is just take the entire movie, or I mean, maybe I'll be fine with it. Just take the entire movie and then just go, oh, and by the way, everyone, here's your new Black Panther. Roll credits, and then we have to wait till the next Black Panther movie to actually see how this character kind of gets along as Black Panther. Or I'd rather it be like either a halfway point or 2/3 of the way in, they go, okay, we need the Black Panther. Let's figure this out. Let's make it happen because we need to be saved by this character at the end.
I agree that I hope it doesn't take the entire film. Certainly I hope maybe in Act 2 or something like that, but I don't know, like we'll see. I like the first one quite a lot, so
me too.
I'll definitely be seeing this if and when I have a chance.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see what they do with they're introducing Ironheart in that movie as well, which is supposed to then spin off into, I believe, is it a Disney Plus show later on, or is it?
No, it's a Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Ironheart was one of the ones. It was one of the television parts of Phase 5, I think.
5,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to that character as well.
The other stuff with Marvel, there wasn't really any trailers. It was more just teasers. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, the teaser is just a bunch of action shots and people screaming. Like, you don't really understand much about the plot. Other than that, they're introducing Adam Warlock, which I knew already from just like a news article or a casting note. And the only thing that I know about Adam Warlock from a character, not that I've read any of the comics, but only because just pop culture has told me that Adam Warlock is one of the more powerful characters in the Marvel universe. And that was the big Adam kind of hint that they dropped, I think, at the end of the last Guardians film, which was years ago now. And apparently the filming and the wrap up of everything has been pretty emotional for the people involved. I don't necessarily buy all of it. I feel like there's just been, it feels like a media footnote that people are just mentioning because it gets clicks, you know?
Emotional because this is the last of them?
Yeah.
Galaxies?
Yeah. Like,
okay.
I think, in one of the interviews, I think Chris Pratt teared up about, talking about it with James Gunn. I'm just like, I'm sure there's a lot of high octane emotions and stuff, but like, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. It doesn't really strike me as Shakespeare. I mean, they're good, they're fun, but anyway, and I feel like there's just been, the press around it seems to all be like, this is really intense and amazing, and I've heard nothing about it until just now. Right. Didn't have a clue they were even making Guardians 3 until they released the trailer. Right. Whereas, you hear about all this other stuff, or you've been informed of this other stuff with little bits, little trickles here and there, rumors, and then release dates, and then stuff like that. But I heard nothing,
Same.
I mean, I'll watch it, but I'm not super excited about it.
Same here. I mean, I'll watch it to see how it falls in with the other movies from the MCU and then how it sets up other movies later on, but I'm not chomping at the bit to go and see.
Yeah, when I rewatch Marvel films, these are not in the cycle. They don't get a rewatch. Like, if it's one of those things, like if it was on at somebody's house, I would watch it, but it's not like I specifically say I'm going to go watch Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. Like, it just I may, if I was watching it with somebody that had never seen the Marvel Cinematic Universe in completion and they wanted to know where the stones were coming from and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, as a movie on its own, especially the second one. The first one was good. The second one, I really wasn't a fan. So yeah,
Agreed.
Side note, I didn't have this in our show notes this week, but have you seen the teaser trailer for the little I Am Groot shorts that are coming to Disney Plus?
No, I only found out that they were coming in the last week or so, and I haven't had a chance to go check them out yet.
So it's not a full-fledged series; it's a series of shorts. So a series of just individual cartoons, essentially, like the kind of cartoons you'd see before a film, that kind of idea. CG animated. It's all about like little Groot running around doing stuff, and the trailer basically speaks for itself. It's just him being Groot, and either like modeling in front of the mirror and being cute, dancing, or saying hi to a bunch of little aliens that are first hostile to him, and then they realize that he's good, and then they treat him like a god, and like there's all this kind of stuff, and none of it is his intention. He's just basically waving hello, and then this entire drama unfolds around him, and he's just like, what is going on? I just wanted to say hi to you guys. Like it's such a strange thing, and it's going to be interesting because of course he doesn't say anything other than I am Groot, and it does not appear that there's any other characters to translate. So it's all going to be through pantomime and the reaction of other characters and animals and things in the shorts. But it looks well done. Like it's all CG, like it's meant to be a cartoon.
Nice.
It's not meant to be cartoon with live action. Like it's all animated. So that could be a lot of fun. The other stuff for me, I guess outside of just the confirmation that Fantastic Four is going to be in Phase 6, I actually got pulled into a couple of other teasers. Star Trek Picard Season 3 had a teaser. It's not really a teaser for the season. It's more like a lineup of the cast and what the cast is going to look like. And for those of you that don't know, most of the, if not all of the bridge cast from the Next Generation is back. So Geordi, Crusher,
Nice.
Riker, Deanna Troi, and they all have these lines. Worf in particular looks very stoic in the trailer. And they all have these specific lines about destiny or crew or family. 7 and 9 is in the shot as well. So she wasn't on Generation, but she's in Picard. So it looks cool, and it looks like a lot of people have really gone far in Starfleet or have retired and are coming out of retirement. And I really dig that Riker wears kind of like a Han Solo vest in this, because he's always been like the rogue guy. He's the one that's I like him because he's not trigger happy, but he's more than happy to put the boot down when he needs to. And that to me warrants the non-Starfleet wardrobe in the trailer. It's a fun little mix.
Nice.
And Gates McFadden, of course, reprising her role as Beverly Crusher. I met her briefly at HalCon number of years ago now.
Nice.
The woman doesn't age. It's insane. She glided by my booth. She sort of stopped. She doesn't. The people that walk around like that, they never really stop because then they kind of get mobbed. So they kind of slow down, but they always keep moving. And she said something very complimentary about my work, and she smiled, and I said, "Oh, hello,"
nice.
And I just said hi, and I mean, no introductions, just because I said hi. I of course watched the series. Really nice to meet you, that sort of thing. But I don't know what it is about her, but it's probably just because she's just so poised, but there's a certain amount of grace that you can pick up from some people. And not just women. When I met John Rhys Davies and I had a conversation with him, he also just has this personability and niceness to him that you kind of forget that he's a celebrity 5 minutes after you talk to him.
Nice.
And she didn't say that long, but you kind of get this very, I don't know, just genuine kind of vibe. But yeah, she's obviously coming back, and I've always really enjoyed the relationship that Crusher and Picard have. So I'm curious to see how they play that out.
Nice.
Going to be a heavy season. It's the final season for Picard. They're not doing any more. So that is it's going to be bittersweet, I think, because I think everyone is enjoying that we're getting more Picard. But when it's done, there will be no more Picard.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a good one to watch anyway. There was a trailer for John Wick 4. Are you a fan of the John Wick films?
I am. I'm on board.
Cool. Yep, me too. I mean, it's a teaser. It doesn't really surprise me. Everything sounds precisely like a John Wick movie. They're not out to surprise you in any shape. I think with the content, I think the manner in which the content is delivered is surprising, but he's going to be fighting a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know,
it looked a little bit more. I feel funny. Feels funny saying this, but it looked a little more violent than the previous movies, because usually it's just like a lot of gun, bang, 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 and hand fighting and stuff. But there's one point in the teaser trailer where I won't spoil it if anyone wants to go see it, but there's a weapon that's used, and it's just like it's very quick, very effective weapon.
Yep. I know what you mean.
Oh, that's
yep.
That's new.
Yeah. There's lots of swords too. There's lots of sword play, and I feel like his adversary might be like a gun katana specialist or something. It seems to be very, just probably because the comics, if there were any comics, that would just be cool. You know, like, not that it's that effective to have a sword and a gun. I kind of feel like it's a little bit comic booky, but like that's what John Wick is, and I'm on board. I'm gonna save the best for last. But the other one that kind of caught my eye, which I don't believe was a San Diego release, I think this might have been just something that Netflix put out either at or alongside of San Diego, was the Sandman trailer. Yeah. This is a Neil Gaiman IP, and I am only familiar, I will confess, through nerd culture losing their ever-loving mind when this was into production. I've never read the comics. I know they're apparently very good. I like Neil Gaiman. You know, I enjoyed American Gods, so you know, I'll watch it. It looks really cool and really trippy and different than everything else that's on Netflix right now. So I'm on board. Are you a fan? Like, have you read the comics? Are you a fan of the IP?
I've read probably a third of the entire thing, and it has so much lore into it, and so much. It's so dense, but so good. You know, I say that, but there were a couple of points where I was reading through it, and I would open a spread, and it felt like it was half words and half images, and that to me was like, oh my goodness, just why does it? I'm a fan of comics that kind of flip flop back and forth between the two, but I like it when images can carry, you know, if it's drawn well enough to carry the emotion that goes along with the words. I felt like don't give me those yellow boxes across the top of every frame narrating something for like 3 spreads in a row, and I felt like it did that at times. But it is really good. It's really original compared to anything else I've read, and while I'm not as, you know, I'm newer to it than anyone who would have read it when they were originally comics, I think the casting choice, like I don't remember seeing that actor in anything else, but the look of the guy they got to play Morpheus is just, looks bang on. So cool. Good. Yeah.
It's always nice when they can capture the spirit of the comics when they do the casting and stuff like that. Before, I feel like I've taken this a little bit outside of comics. Before we move on, was there any Marvel stuff that you were really looking forward to? Like, what's on your hit list?
Definitely. I know it's a ways out still, but definitely Daredevil. I loved that TV show on Netflix, and I was so disappointed when it went away. So I'm thrilled that he's going to be back in She-Hulk. I only saw the first trailer, and I saw, oh, there's a red suit. That's awesome. I bet you it's Daredevil. And then I saw the next trailer, and like, oh yeah, there's Charlie Cox as the Daredevil. So confirmed. Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, I think that's kind of the only thing I have on my really, really want to see list. I guess I am excited about Fantastic Four in the sense that I'm really hoping that now that it's officially going to be folded into the MCU, that they're actually going to do it justice. I hope it fits in. I hope it's done well. I like, I'm going to mess up his name, but John Krasinski, I think it was, from The Office. As
I like him a lot.
Mr. Fantastic or Captain Fantastic, whatever it is. When they had him in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I thought that's a good fit. I know he was campaigning for it for years ago. He would have loved to have played the part. So to see him as the character, it makes me hopeful that he will be in the actual Fantastic Four movie, and I hope that's the case because he's quite good. I like him as well.
If they don't, they better be prepared for the just ire of Marvel fans that think because they've seen it in a multiverse blip that it's official. You know, and it sucks for Krasinski, because like if he has been cast and they have an announcement, he has to sit on that. Like he can't say anything.
Yeah.
And I remember an interview with Ewan McGregor talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's just like, it got to the point where I started to pressure, like, and really wanted Disney to announce it, because like I was lying to people. He was saying in the interview, I am lying to my fans and people that are interviewing me when they're asking me, like, would you ever reprise the role again? Meanwhile, he's like going back and forth on the script for Obi-Wan Kenobi that he can't talk about, right? And I know that there's a certain advantage to all the secrecy, but I feel like stuff like casting announcements and things like that, like you don't have to have a big celebration. Just like put out a press release and let the actors enjoy it for longer, you know? Because I agree with you. Like I think that in Fantastic Four, they have the technology now to do the thing justice.
I actually think they did an okay job with it last time. I just don't feel like the movie felt.
Which one? There were two.
Good. The more recent one, I thought the thing looked okay to me. I guess I'm having a little bit of trouble remembering it, but I don't remember going, wow, that looks awful. I just remember the movie. Like they were the Fantastic Four for like 10 minutes at the end, and it left me going, what? It should have been a totally different movie. So I have a feeling it will be John Krasinski. I mean, obviously don't quote me on that because I'm just a nobody. But one thing I will say for the MCU, they seem to be really big on continuity. Like even though they may not be bringing the Inhumans back into the fold, or if they are, I don't know yet. But in the Multiverse of Madness, they had the same actor who played Black Bolt from the not so beloved Inhuman TV show. They used the same actor who from there in Doctor Strange, and they had Patrick Stewart, Captain Picard, as Xavier in the same movie. So they seem to be kind of big on continuity and keeping the characters. So I'm hopeful. It wouldn't make any sense to just introduce him and then just have someone else. You're in the MCU for 5 minutes. Congratulations. Bye.
I mean, it could be contractual. I don't know what kind of contract he might have signed for that TV show.
Yeah,
if he was
true.
smart, he would have signed up for both television and film, for at least for a number of years anyway. Well, to get outside of comics, one of the trailers that I don't know what to think of. It looks fun. It's Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, and to me, it feels like a format fantasy action movie. Like think Thor Ragnarok, which you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Think like the Huntsman movies, you know, with Jeremy Renner, or the one. There's another one with, I think even Chris Hemsworth is in one. Those like really like the Snow White and the Seven Deaths, or like I don't know what the hell they call them. They're terrible. They're not good, and yet they get like Charlize Theron to be the evil queen. I'm not sure how they managed to get these A-list stars to these shitty movies. But yeah, like it's got this vibe of being very modern comedy in a fantasy set format with a big IP licensed, which is of course Dungeons and Dragons, which is really popular now on Twitch and lots of televised versions of games, and obviously popular with Stranger Things and all that kind of stuff as well. If it's financially successful, it could mean more than one, because it's not just called Dungeons and Dragons. It's called Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. So my best guess is that some producer wants to make the Fast and the Furious of Dungeons and Dragons series and just pump these things out yearly, and which could be good or bad. Like it could attract a lot of stars. It could attract a lot of directors that respect the material. It could also just be a lot of BS. I don't really know. Some of the trailer jokes are funny, but like it's kind of like watching Captain Kirk in Dungeons and Dragons. Like I
forgot that he was Captain Kirk.
Yeah, like I get the same vibe. You know, I get the same vibe from him.
Yeah.
And I know that I shouldn't feel that all of my high fantasy shows or all of my fantasy shows have to have people with English accents. You know what I mean? Like, because everybody in it is just American. You know,
Game of Thrones ruined it for you.
Yeah, but Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, like they all do the same thing. Even all the bad guys in Star Wars, all the Imperials have got British accents. Like there's just something very stereotypical about it, and I know that I have to break that idea. But like I said, special effects look really good. It might be on the same sort of level as maybe like a Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it could be entertaining.
Yeah.
It might not be my thing that I rewatch once a year, but it could be fun.
Yeah, my guys are looking forward to it, and I appreciate some of the internet jokes surrounding it as well. Where it's on Twitter, basically someone said it would be great if the movie just stopped halfway through, and then you had to then take the time and figure out a good time to watch it with your friends again and go see it on another night. Just to, it's the same way that a campaign stops halfway through and you have to go find another night to continue on with it.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I don't know if it was an internet joke or just my sons being clever. They said it'd be great if somebody in the movie died, and then somebody like walked out of a pub that looked exactly the same and sort of took over the same, like basically picked up almost where the other character left off. And I'm like, man, that is hilarious. So,
that's a pretty good joke. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like, I think it's got my family pumped. I'm personally not sure what I'm overall think about it. Like if I wanted to be super critical, but I think it's going to be a fun time, and I look forward to going to the theater with my sons to watch it.
Yeah, apparently they wanted to have like true monsters from Dungeons and Dragons. So, like there's the chest monster thing, there's the panther with the different tails. I don't remember what they're called, but apparently they're really into the monsters. But then you get the ire of the nerds that are saying like, well, the druid wouldn't be able to shapeshift into an owlbear because apparently an owlbear is not a beast, it's a monstrosity, and they can't do that. And I'm just kind of like, did you hear Led Zeppelin at the beginning of the trailer?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, come on, like it's not, if that's what you're here for, this movie is not for you.
Yeah, I gotta say, I am looking forward to the owlbear in theater. That looked pretty darn cool.
Oh, it did look cool. Yeah, no, and the fact that it's this little, elfy looking fawn character that transforms into it. Then we have real dragons in Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon.
Real dragons, yeah.
Yeah. Again, not a whole lot from the trailer, and this is not based on any novels. It's based on chronicles from a maester that George R.R. Martin had written, or at least written footnotes on, and then HBO producers have taken and run with it. I've heard Martin interviewed saying that it's really cool to see, people treating his baby with respect and wanting to do it justice and all that kind of stuff, and trying to make something new out of a world that he's created. I mean, I'm on board just because we don't have to wait 4 seasons for dragons. Like, they're in it now. Yeah. They're all over the trailer. And so that's one of my favorite things about the original Game of Thrones series is, of course, the dragons and Daenerys and stuff. I don't know about Matt Smith as a blonde. It kind of takes me out of it. But everybody else seems to fit roles. I recognized a couple of people who I'm sure are ecstatic that they are part of this IP now. It's probably big deals for them. So again, it's a teaser. It doesn't really show a whole lot other than just like the Targaryens and in power, and somebody wants them not to be. Surprise! Right. It is called Game of Thrones. So I'm looking forward to it. It looks good. I mean, they should have a budget to just destroy all things because of the success of the show.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Previous, right? So I'd imagine there'll be, if nothing else, you're looking at some very high production value.
Agreed. And
last but not least, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. This, to me, it's like it's on a knife's edge. It looks fantastic. It feels fantastic. Galadriel is one of my favorite characters, and I'm curious to see about her early adventures. Like, there's lots of sword swinging and jumping and action and stuff. There doesn't appear to be a lot of standing around and talking in the trailer, which is good. And it covers all the notes. Like, there's orcs, there's dwarves, there's elves, there's people. Apparently it's going to focus on like the rise of the humans and stuff, but it looks good.
They hit you in the feels right away with the music starting too.
Mm-hmm. No, it feels like a return to Middle Earth. The thing that I'm concerned about is the production value. I am concerned about giant green screen sets that scream fake, and I'm concerned about the stream quality being terrible. I don't think Prime Video can handle it.
Because it's on Prime. Yeah.
It's on Prime Video. I'm trying to remember the name of the other fantasy show that I just watched from them. That the content was fine. It was a good show, but I kept on getting pulled out of it by the crappy video quality. You know, like watching dancing ants around the screen. Like, why does it look grainy? It wasn't put on film. It's digital. You know, why is this not in 4K? Why, you know, like, I don't think Prime Video can handle the sheer amount of people that are going to descend on them in September to watch the show. You know, Johnny, my co-host on the Spawn Chunks, said that he hopes that it comes to some sort of direct to video purchase quickly after it's released, so that if the streaming quality is crap, he can just wait and then buy it on Blu-ray or on, you know, direct download or something like that. You know,
do streaming shows do that?
I don't know. Sometimes it depends. I mean, you're talking about something that's owned by Amazon, right? Like, do they just want to sell you more stuff? Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I have a hard time too, because sometimes when I go to watch films, like, I could go and watch Star Wars in 4K, or I could watch them on Blu-ray. Blu-ray is going to be lower resolution. It'll be upscaled by my TV and probably look okay. But the problem is that if I go 4K, it's going to be the resolution, but then I'm streaming it off the internet. And I don't have the best of luck with Disney Plus. I'm rewatching the original Daredevil series on Disney Plus right now, and it looks terrible. Like, it's really grainy. And I don't know whether it's just that the show is just that old, that the television or Disney Plus is having trouble upscaling it. I don't know whether Disney Plus is having trouble with the resolution. Like, I found when I was watching not The Mandalorian, but Boba Fett, I found Boba Fett was really poor image quality in some places too, and I don't know why. And that it could be a me problem, but I feel like we should be at a place in technology where, like, these streaming services and the apps on the TVs should all be up to snuff. Like, it's not like 4K is brand new, right? So anyway, it's a rabbit hole I won't go down because we'll be here forever. Moving on to the Internet Minute, which is, of course, brought to you by you. The Citadel Cafe is listener supported. If you're getting value out of the show, please consider putting a little bit of value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server, shared with my personal Discord and my Twitch channel, as a matter of fact, and access, of course, to the Barista Cut bonus audio sessions. Haven't recorded one this summer. Everybody's been pretty busy, but hopefully one of those will be coming at you soon. Special thanks to our Bean Counter patrons, new this week, Cosmic Dancer. Thank you very much, Cosmic, for your support on this episode. And, of course, Smurf588, who has been around for a few weeks now. Thank you both. Really appreciate the support. Patron count is at 27, steady on from the last time we spoke. Our goal each week is to have at least one more patron than the week before. If you'd like to become patron number 28, visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. My pick this week, once again, brings us back to Legoland. I know you're shocked, but bear with me. Steven and I have been talking an awful lot about the 80s tonight, and this is the Lego Atari 2600 release from Lego. It's
so pretty.
$300 Canadian, 2,500 pieces, 4 inches high, 9 inches deep, 13 inches wide. It comes with the console, a joystick, and 3 cartridges that you put together. And the cartridges make little game dioramas of the games that they're based on, which I thought was really cool. There's also a hidden games room diorama that folds into the console, so you can either have that on display or not. And it is just a amazing piece of work. It is available now. I don't think it was available at the time I added it to the show notes, but it is available now on the Lego website. And it looks so cool. They really nailed it, I feel like, with this one. With the Nintendo Entertainment System, I thought that's really cool. I like the Nintendo. I didn't really like the TV that they kind of gave you with it, but you wouldn't really have much to look at. And I feel like here they didn't want to do the TV again. So the real fun, I think, is the little dioramas that you get with the cartridge bases. You get like asteroids, and you get Centipede, and it looks like Adventure is the other one. Very, very cool. Really reminds me of the one that my neighbor had when I was growing up.
Yeah, it looks really, I'm just looking at it right now. It looks really, really slick. And I guess it's nice as well because, you know, the consoles back in the day were very blocky to begin with. So it looks pretty authentic, all things considered.
And the games that you would be playing would be what, 4-bit, 8-bit? Like they would be.
Oh yeah.
at best, right? So making little dioramas out of Lego, it's not like you have to be super realistic with it, and even the
Yeah.
console has like a pixel art feel to it, like the front wood paneling has like a pixel art wood paneling detail on it, and the Atari logo, which is very cool.
And I do like the little cartridge shelf that they gave you as well, so you can slide your games into it. That's nice. Nice touch.
I feel like there's a lot of nerds out there that are 100% on top of this, provided that they are old enough to have had one.
Yeah.
Lego is just like hitting those nostalgia strings of the people that are in their late 30s, early 40s that are old enough to afford this stuff, because it's not cheap.
Yep.
No, it's not cheap. It's a lot of pieces though. Like that would take a while to put together, I think.
That's a 9 stream set right there.
What is your pick this week, sir?
Kind of give a shout out to Alfred. Alfred is like a Mac utility that's been around for ages, and I use it every day, probably dozens, if not a couple hundred times a day. I use it for an app launcher. Like for me, I just hit Control Spacebar, type in the first couple letters. It's sort of like Spotlight for Mac OS, but like on steroids. It's you can actually build workflows in it that are sort of like the macros that you and I talked about for the Stream Deck. So when you were saying, I push a button and then everything that I need for my stream just sort of automatically opens. And I was thinking, oh, that's cool. And at the time, I was forgetting, I already have that set up in Alfred. So I just kind of hit my key command and then type in like SWS for streaming with Steven. And then it opens all of the applications that I need and opens up the web pages so that it's basically just ready to go. As like you can use a built-in dictionary, spell checker. One of my favorite things is a text expander utility, because I used to use the app called Text Expander, and then they went to subscription model, and it was just sort of priced it out of usability for me. But then this has a built-in, so I just have, sort of a standard intro email that I might respond to clients with, and I just hit a couple of keys, and it automatically puts that in. I love it. Yeah, it's probably, I mentioned Drop Shelf a little while ago, and between that and this and Alfred, there's kind of my two go-to utilities that I load on every new Mac that I have to set up. So it's quite good. You can get it from, I think it's Running with Crayons, alfredapp.com, but the company that makes it is called Running with Crayons.
Clever company name.
Yeah, it's fun. So it costs $53 Canadian if you want to buy the Power Pack, which kind of gives you sort of next level functionality and built-in stuff built into it. Or like if you've got the cash and you fork out $92, then it's a lifetime license, which it wasn't that expensive when I bought it, but I bought the lifetime license probably when it was around $40-something 10 years ago, and I haven't had to buy an update since. And it's one of those applications that, given the price it is now, but knowing how much I use it in my day-to-day, I'd go buy it again. Love it.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that we talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod, and you can email us at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com. Follow the show by name on Twitter, subscribe for free with your favorite podcast app, or find the show on YouTube. Word of mouth is the easiest way to support the show. Just tell a friend about the Citadel Cafe and where they can go to listen to it. My name is Joel Duggan. You can find everything I am up to online, including my illustration and design portfolio at joelduggan.com. You can listen to my other podcasts about Minecraft at thespawnchunks.com, or follow me on social media at Joel Duggan and on Twitch, where I stream 3 days a week from the Citadel server. And I have updated my Patreon page this week. Speaking of Minecraft servers, the Infinity Cove patron server, which is where a lot of members of the community play, has been upgraded. We're hosting with a new company, and that has improved and increased the capabilities of the server. And there's now 2 worlds that you could be a part of. And so there is a new tier on my Patreon page. So if you're looking to support my creative work from streaming and a Twitch side, and either Twitch isn't your bag, or you want to join a server with a bunch of really nerdy, kind folks, then check out patreon.com/Joel Duggan. Stephen, where can people find you online?
I'm spending most of my spare time on Twitch as well these days. So twitch.tv/StephenESC. And then again, that's Stephen with a PH. And I'm usually streaming Thursday evenings at 7 Atlantic and Sunday mornings at 10, and looking to throw in the occasional Monday evening stream. We're doing a bit of speed running, so I call it my Monday Run Days, and that'll be at 7 o'clock in the evening as well.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two.